This is St. Louis Cardinals baseball. And this afternoon from our nation's capital, game number 3 between the Washington Nationals and the St. Louis Cardinals. About an hour ago, second baseman Kolten Wong getting set. He's in the lineup today, coming off what he called his most complete game as a pro last night. Welcome to Cardinals baseball. That's Tim McCarver. I'm Dan McLaughlin. Delighted to have you with us here on Fox Sports Midwest. What a pitching matchup we have for you today. St. Louis native Max Scherzer going for the Nationals, and the young gun for St. Louis, Michael Wacha.
And because of Max Scherzer's contract, every time he pitches this year, it's going to be Max Scherzer against the other guy. Well, the other guy today happens to be Michael Wacha, and he's so good against Washington, he almost pitched a no-hitter 2 years ago.
2 years ago, great night late in the season at Busch Stadium, and Ryan Zimmerman an infield hit to break up that no-hitter. Batting leadoff for the Cardinals when we come back, it'll be third baseman Matt Carpenter. He'll get it all going. Baseball comes your way next. It is chilly and windy here in the nation's capital. We talked so much coming into this series about pitching. For Tim McCarver, we've seen some great defense along the way as well.
Not only by the Cardinals, but by the Nationals also. But last night, Kolten Wong stole the show. 3 great defensive plays, a 2-run home run to make it 3-0 in the second, and the tie-breaking double in the 8th inning.
Max Scherzer 1-1 this year against Michael Wacha and the Cardinals. In the first pitch to Matt Carpenter is driven into right center field. Well hit again, and this ball, one hops off the wall. Carpenter started game 2 off last night with a home run. This time it's the double.
And the shocking thing so far to National League pitchers is here's Matt Carpenter swinging at the first pitch.
Matt Carpenter, now Jason Hayward. A look at the lineup for St. Louis. Matt Holliday, then Adams, the cleanup man. He homered here last night. Peralta, Wong, Jay, Cruz, and Wacha. Be the first start this year, first playing action this season for Tony Cruz. No Yadier Molina in this lineup. Hayward, little bloop out to shallow left. Clint Robinson won't get it. And Carpenter advances to third.
That's a good base running play by Carpenter. He went far enough that when the ball dropped and the left fielder bobbled the ball, he could get to third base. 2 pitches, 2 base runners. Good base running by Carpenter. It's tough because the left fielder's about 80 feet from you. If he makes the play cleanly and throws to third, you don't know what to do. But a good play by Carpenter going more than halfway, it allowed him to get to third.
This turns out to be what could be eventually in this game a huge inning for St. Louis. You don't get many cracks at Max Scherzer.
No, 2 pitches, first and third, not often.
And now it's Holliday. He's off to a red-hot start. So Max Scherzer signs the greatest contract ever by a right-handed pitcher. And here he is in Washington. So far, he's 1-1 in 3 starts and the .83 ERA. Matt Holliday has reached base in all the games this year. No hits last night, but he did draw a walk. Last time out for Max Scherzer, 8 innings against the Phillies, 4 hits, gave up an earned run. And 2 of his 3 starts this year have been against the Fightin' Phils. Not a lot of fighting them this year.
No. They come to Busch Stadium, by the way, next Monday through Thursday.
Be a 4-game set with the Phils. Holliday in the hole, 0-2.
Thing about Scherzer, he can pitch out of jams like this, first and third and nobody out, because of his strikeout ability.
Before this game, Scherzer had faced 86 batters, no doubles allowed. 1 pitch into the game, first double allowed.
Oh, that's a great note. Matt Carpenter giving him something to think about. Scherzer had to step off.
As a matter of fact, Scherzer had not allowed a double and only 2 extra base hits all season long. 92 and 51 in his major league career. Two-time All-Star and a Cy Young Award winner with Detroit back in 2013. That year he was 21 and 3 for the Tigers. The 2-2 instead of check on Jason Hayward, the runner at first.
Dan, you think of the wisdom of swinging at the first pitch. First time through the lineup, a guy like Scherzer doesn't want to throw first pitch changeup. That's developed into, in my opinion, his best pitch. So first pitch fastball, 2 men on.
And now a 2-2 pitch. On the inside corner, strikeout of Holiday. He did not like that call. The Hyundai pitch arsenal for Max Scherzer this year. Very good fastball, mid to upper 90s. Tim spoke about that changeup, which is devastating. Very good slider. Mix in a curve.
Occasionally. Working on it.
Here's Matt Adams. They set up inside. Some changes defensively and in the lineup for Matt Williams here today. Jose Lobaton is the catcher, and we saw Clint Robinson in left and no Jason Worth. A little bigger lead this time for Jason Hayward.
Not really a good running situation with the power hitter up there. Those power hitters are more inclined to hit long fly balls. So you don't want to get thrown out with a runner at third base and less than 2 outs.
Had him out in front, and there's that changeup.
That's a changeup because he went to that because he was in trouble. First time through the lineup, changeup to Matt Adams. Same motion as the fastball. Very, very difficult to pick up.
A 1 pitch to Adams after a long look. Here it comes. Now 0-2. I was talking with Matt in the team hotel this morning on our way to the ballpark, and he said last night was a relief after a tough game 1 defensively. Remember, Timmy had the drop in foul territory. And
sure. 2 errors that night, a strikeout, pinch hitting, and a home run to make it 7-5 last night.
In the hole, 0-2. Adams pops it foul out of play. You can see why Scherzer, though, wants to keep an eye on Jason Hayward. Last year he had 20 steals. For a big guy, he can run. 6'5". He's put together but can run. Another long look and a check. Matt was also telling me he didn't realize he got that ball so good last night. That was a shot into right field for his second home run. 0-2 pitch. In the dirt, gets away. Carpenter will score. Hayward to second base. And it's 1-0 St. Louis on a wild pitch from Max Scherzer.
I think that was a changeup, too. The thing about Scherzer, he does not throw many fastballs for wild pitches, but he will throw that choked changeup. Lobaton went to his right. The ball skittered off his right thigh, if that's a word. Not thigh, but skitter. Just made one.
But everybody knows what you're talking about.
Yeah. A little homemade action there.
Here's a 1-2. Adams pulls it foul. Max Scherzer has developed into a premier pitcher, and it took a lot of work.
It really did.
Parkway Central High School in St. Louis. Grew up a Cardinals fan. And then it was off to the University of Missouri, where he studied finance and was the Big 12 Pitcher of the Year. It's another 1-2. 2-2.
Good subject to study also in the major in finance. If you're gonna make $2.1 million, or $210 million. It's pretty good to go into finance. Mike's a smart guy.
It took a gamble last year, and we'll talk about that in just a moment. Here's a 2-2 instead of check. And the gamble was this. He was offered $144 million by Detroit. Turns it down, and he and his agent took out an insurance policy for $750,000.
That was a premium.
Here's a 2-2. Adams with a high fly ball. Lifted into center. Denard Span under it. Makes the catch. Hayward back to the bag at second base. Robinson, Span, and Harper in the outfield. Escobar, Desmond, Espinosa, and Zimmerman along the infield. Lobaton behind the plate, the Dobbs Tire Auto Center's defense. So they take out for $750,000 what was a guaranteed, if his arm was hurt, $40 million tax-free. So if he gets hurt with the arm, shoulder, elbow, whatever the case may be, he had $40 million tax-free coming his way.
That's a very wise decision. A little protection there. He didn't need it.
Rolled the dice and got $200+ million here in Washington. Here's Johnny Peralta hitting .288, the Cardinals shortstop. Well, the amazing thing, and I've been describing Peralta now, watching him for about a year and a half. Tim, he's just a steady player. He's in there every day, makes the routine plays. He's got a little pop with 21 home runs last year, but steady.
It's a great compliment to a player when he is called a professional hitter. Remember Jim Leland telling us a couple of years ago when the Red Sox faced the Tigers, and Jim Leland had Johnny Peralta in left field for that series, and we kept saying he has no experience out there. He said he can drive in more than he lets in.
And Chris Bryant playing center field today for the Cubs.
That?
Wow. Normally a third baseman can play first base. But that's Joe Madden to a T, thinking outside the box.
Oh, yeah, as he always does. Very innovative manager.
2-1 the count. Hayward the runner at second base. 2-2. Talk about Max Scherzer and his work ethic and what he's brought to this team. It already featured a number of veterans, but since caught the eye of even the veterans and the younger players between starts. Keeps himself in great condition, ready to go every fifth day.
And you hate to see that, 2 meetings on the mound here in the first inning. Jose Lobaton, I'll tell you, sometimes that plants seeds of negativity when you go out there too much.
A 2-2 on the outside corner, and a strikeout of Johnny Peralta. Matt Carpenter first pitch in this game with a double into right center. The bloop by Hayward, and then Matt scores on a wild pitch. Happening in the books. 1-0 St. Louis. Rick Lilliquist. And Waka, 2 starts, and he's 2-0 so far this year, 1.35 ERA. 26 outs recorded, 1 to go from Michael Waka. September 24th of 2013. Ryan Zimmerman, 2 outs in the 9th, broke up the no-hitter. It was only Michael Waka's 9th start of his big league career.
Michael Waka can stand toe-to-toe to anybody in the big leagues.
He's proven that already this season with Johnny Cueto, matched up with the great right-hander of the Reds twice, and he's 2-0. Here's Denard Span. And I think the difference in Michael Waka, Tim, when you go back to 2013 to what we're seeing now, he's always had a good fastball, mid to upper 90s. He has had the outstanding changeup.
Great changeup.
Yeah. The curveball is getting better and better and better.
Some say that that led to his arm injuries last year. I don't know that that is true. But one thing is true, his curveball is much better now than it was 2 years ago.
The runs he's allowed have come on home runs. One of those on a 3-0 pitch to Todd Frazier. And on 3-0, Span draws a walk. Hyundai pitch arsenal for Michael Wacha. The fastball is mixed in a cutter that he's developed, the changeup, and a curveball. So in 4 straight, Span is aboard. Brings in Ian Desmond. Hitting an even 300, 1 home run. He's driven in 5. Span is a threat to steal. We'll see how aggressive they want to be with no Molina in there today.
I was just thinking the same thing. Tony Cruz behind the plate. And when a catcher doesn't catch that often, the first thing that is messed up when he catches is his footwork. Not his arm. The arm's strong, but the footwork behind the plate. It's very important. You've got to be back there every day to be consistent with your steps in throwing, and that's vital.
Try to describe it if you can. I know there's different ways to get it done, but the footwork, how does it work for a catcher trying to throw to second?
Well, Bill Dickey used to say to be a good catcher, and this is true, you had to be a good dancer. That's a fact. He did say that.
So light on your feet, quick.
To be a good dancer, you have to have great footwork.
I'd have been an awful catcher, and I was. So I guess that explains it. Strikeout of Desmond. And it brings in Bryce Harper. Lineup for the Nationals: Span, Desmond, and Harper. Then Zimmerman, Robinson, Escobar, Lobaton, Espinosa, and Scherzer.
How unusual is that? 4 straight balls to the leadoff hitter, 3 straight strikes to the number 2 guy.
Bryce Harper no longer the youngest player in the major leagues. It's now Addison Russell, who's called up by the Cubs this past week. He was part of the Jeff Samardzija deal with the Oakland A's, and Samardzija now pitching for the White Sox. And Russell, a top prospect with Chicago, the Cubs. So 1 out runner at first. Another check. Harper's hitting .255. 4 home runs. He's driven in 8.
That's an impressive thing about Michael Wacha. How he can be so quick and be 6'4½. Talking about footwork. He's got very quick feet in throwing to first base. Can't be comfortable with the lead.
Liner into center field. John Jay coming on. Drops in front of him. Not sure he got a very good jump on that baseball.
Well, you have to respect the power of Bryce Harper. So Jay understandably playing him deep. Making 3 fabulous plays in game 1. Won a game saver with the bases loaded in the bottom of the 9th inning. But couldn't catch up to that one.
2 on for Ryan Zimmerman. Cardinals defense. You saw Jay there a moment ago in center. Holiday, Hayward at left and right. Carpenter, Peralta, Wong, Adams along the infield. Cruz behind the plate. Presented by Dobbs Tire and Auto Centers. Fastball missing, and a tight zone here early on from Michael Wacha. One ball, 1 strike. Zimmerman had to deal with the shoulder injury that moves him over from third to first. He basically cannot even throw. The Nats declined an option on Adam LaRoche's deal to clear the way for Zimmerman. And LaRoche signed a 2-year contract with the Chicago White Sox. When they get Anthony Rendon back, this infield has got some kind of thump. Last year, collectively, 91 home runs by the infielders of the Washington Nationals, and Matt Williams saying before the first pitch today that Rendon expected to start a rehab assignment tomorrow.
And then you add that with Desmond, Espinosa, and Zimmerman.
2-2. Always liked this guy as a player and a person. He is class.
Yes, he is.
The 2-2. Ripped into right center. Jay wants it. Hayward takes it. Makes the catch and gets it back into the infield.
Before this inning started, the bat boy came out to Matt Carpenter and gave him a pair of sunglasses, to which Matt took them out to Jason Hayward. It's an overcast day, and Jason, thinking that he wouldn't have any problems with the sun, got the glasses and ended up making the catch there. But you can see that that sun could be problems for the guys in right field in particular today.
Where I also noticed it too, the shadows could be a factor if the sun peeks through the clouds for the hitters. It's getting very close to edging towards home plate.
Pitchers don't need an advantage against hitters with these guys going today.
No, sir. It's hard enough, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Here's Clint Robinson, Alabama native that was drafted in the 25th round in 2007 by the Royals from Troy University. Basically has been a career minor leaguer and in limited big league experience. Was called up by the Royals in 2012, the Dodgers last year. Total of 13 major league at bats coming into this season.
He's strong.
Line drive into center, but there is Jay and he puts it away. The Nationals strand 2. Sun is shining right now. 1-0 after 1. Here's one of those lefties, Colton Wong. Homered and drove in 3 last night. Some eye-popping defense along the way. A 1 pitch by Max Scherzer. We talked about it, Tim, how Wong is one of those players that, we've said it a lot, but he gets down on himself, very tough on himself, and maybe that's the kind of game that really propels him to a good season and a solid few weeks upcoming.
Yeah, and like any young player, I think what the Cardinals are looking for is consistency. And consistency comes from persistent concentration every day. Don't allow it to leave you.
Last night it all came together. You saw his talents on display.
Well said.
The 1-2. This is low and away. Nationals, if you look ahead to 2017, and let's just say for argument's sake they would keep the rotation that they have intact. Scherzer's going to be here a long time. Fister free agent to be. Strasburg free agent after next year. Jordan Zimmerman a free agent to be. The 3-2 pitch. The fly ball lifted out to left center. There's Denard Span in front of the track. The point being is that they're going for broke this year because those guys are $100 million pitchers. How was this rotation built? Let's take a look. Scherzer signed as a free agent. 2009, Strasburg #1 overall. The trade with the A's to get Gio Gonzalez. Fister, a trade with Detroit. Jordan Zimmerman was drafted after having Tommy John surgery and fell to the 2nd round. A lot of teams liked him, but then he had Tommy John.
The team that kind of gets lost in the shuffle with that graphic, Max Scherzer pitching for Detroit last year. Doug Fister was traded from Detroit last postseason. And and how Detroit can allow those two great right-handers to go, both of them, in a period of about, what, 15 months. Pfister had a bad start last night, but he is a quality pitcher. 16-6 last year. And Scherzer, Cy Young Award winner 2 years ago.
1 ball and 1 strike. Ground ball hit sharply to first. Ryan Zimmerman underhands to Max Scherzer.
You know who's checking those two moves out? David Price. Talk about the price going up. David, the great left-handed pitcher for the Tigers. You see Pfister dealt, and then Scherzer's gone, and David's saying, "Oh, wait a minute, I'm the only one left. Not the only one, but the best one left."
The pot of gold is getting a little bigger.
Is it ever?
There's a lot of big names headed for free agency after this year among pitchers. Up and in to Tony Cruz. We're talking about how tough it is for a catcher and the footwork, and there's Yadier Molina. Also tough when you get your first start of the year. You got to face Max Scherzer on a cold day in Washington.
Baseball is not always fair.
You and I were in the clubhouse today and in the video room. Yadier Molina studying his swing, going over certain things with his offensive game. But most times he's going over the opponent with his pitching staff, but he was telling me that if he gets time on the rare off day that he gets, it's an evaluation of his swing. There's a 1-2. Strikeout of Tony Cruz. Third this afternoon for Max Scherzer. First time this afternoon. Jim Hayes. Jimmy.
You guys were talking about Colton Wong. Wong told me he just wasn't happy with his swing prior to the team's arrival in D.C. He just wasn't comfortable at the plate. He told me he started to look at video from last year's postseason and noticed something when he was hitting well like he did in the NLCS. He had his weight on his back foot. He told me this season, as he put it, he was leaking forward and jumping at the ball, and it messed up his timing. He said he started working at staying back on Tuesday. He wasn't expecting immediate results, just comfortable. He got great results anyway. 3 hits Tuesday, 3 more hits last night, including a 2-run homer. What a night for Colton Wong, Dan, and that's not even counting the defense, which was ridiculous.
It was, as Carpenter is near the line at third, and there is a base hit into right. It's interesting with Jim's report. I went back and looked at some of my notes from spring training in talking about approach with Colton Wong. I said, what did you take away from your walk-off home run? He said, not so much the celebration and the win. He said, that's great, and that's obvious. He said, but exactly what Jim said, my weight was back in that particular at-bat, on my back leg. And he said, that's something I've got to be able to do this year, trust my hands, realize to keep my weight back and don't jump. So we saw that last night.
Give your hands credit for being quick enough to get through the strike zone. It's also interesting to note that hitters drift, and so do pitchers. Pitchers have to stay on their back foot just like hitters have to. And they're both comparable, hitting and pitching. And a lot of pitching coaches will say you're drifting, and that means that you can immediately correct it by putting the weight on the back foot if you're a pitcher. You pitch like you hit.
Jose Lobaton, a switch hitting catcher, the backup. Looks at a fastball a little high and outside. 1 for 9 to start the year. Stating the obvious, but a huge key this season is a healthy Michael Wacha, dealing with the odd shoulder injury that he has. Brandon McCarthy also deals with it, pitcher for the Dodgers, but a fracture in the shoulder. Michael is telling us that he's done a ton of exercises to strengthen that area of the body, but there's really not a lot known about this type of injury. You know about Tommy John.
The top of the shoulder,
yeah.
Right?
And it's just one of those oddities that he deals with.
I don't think it's one of the most important thing for the Cardinals if they expect to contend. I think it's the most important thing.
Probably so. It's technically a stress reaction in the right shoulder. This time is called. The Cardinals very cautious with Michael last year. He doesn't turn 24 until July 1st. And a 2-2 pitch. Strikeout. Second this afternoon for Walkup. Let's turn to Tim McCarver's Toyota keys to the game.
That's a pretty easy keys to the game today. Waka can, as we said, can stand toe-to-toe with Scherzer. And don't expect a lot of runs to be scored.
Danny Espinosa, second baseman, also a switch hitter. 5 for 26 this year, a 192 batting mark. And Max Scherzer, the pitcher, on deck. Think about Michael Wacha. There's just so much upside and promise. You go back to the League Championship Series of 2013, and it was stunning to watch him and what he did. 13 2/3 and only 7 hits allowed. Fly ball lifted into left field. Holiday comes in a step or two. 2 down, and it brings in the pitcher, Scherzer.
You know, talking about those injuries, as Espinosa is jammed with the Waka fastball, but man was not meant to throw overhanded 97 miles an hour and then change up with the same arm motion. That's why this game is so difficult and so many arm injuries happen. I mean, when you throw that hard and exert that much pressure to that shoulder, elbow with breaking balls, it's going to take its toll, whether you're young or old.
Back to Walkup, steps and throws. The Nationals strand their third runner through 2. We head to the third. Cardinals on top. Scherzer will face Michael Wacha, then the top of the Cardinals lineup, 1-0 St. Louis. I'm curious, and we were talking about arm injuries, and it's an unnatural motion to throw a baseball. Why do you think we're hearing about so many injuries now as opposed to even 20, 30 years ago? Or do you think just guys had those injuries and many of them pitched through it, or they were done?
I think the guys are bigger now. And because they're bigger, they're stronger. But that doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to throw any more resiliently than they did 30 years ago. I mean, there are pitch counts now. They're not allowing guys to pitch complete games. Bob Gibson in 1968, 34 starts, 28 complete games.
Wacha shoots this into the gap in right center, and there's Harper, a sliding catch.
Guys back in those days were big, but these guys today are much, much bigger, and I think as a result, more arm injuries are coming up to, as far as pitching is concerned.
John Smoltz was with MLB Network in here the other night. We were talking about arm injuries, and
he would know a lot about that.
Oh, would he ever? Really, remade himself as a closer.
Sure.
And then started at the end of his career with St. Louis, and he said one of the things that he's going to do in his Hall of Fame speech, it's going to be some of it thanking those that got him to the point of being a Hall of Famer. But he said a lot of it will be dedicated to kids and parents. And one of the things that he thinks leads to injuries is just overusage. Kids becoming specialized in one sport. Playing baseball year-round, not playing other sports. I think there's some truth to that. Oh, 2 here on Carpenter. Doubled and scored back in the first.
It used to be the only thing that youngsters had to be wary of was throwing curveballs. And now it seems like there's so much pressure to win in the little leagues that overusage is a result of trying to win at every level, and perhaps that is part of the reason that by the time they get 16, 17,
sure,
Tommy John surgeries are being performed on high school pitchers now, high school players, much earlier than expected when it came about in 1975.
Carpenter to center. What a start to his 2015 season. 2 for 2 here today.
I was talking to Matt LaCroix, the bullpen catcher, because he catches Scherzer before every game, and I said, what's the most unusual pitch he throws? He said a tailing fastball that is up in the strike zone, and he can throw it for strikes. I've never heard a catcher say that about a pitcher, that he can throw an up and away tailing fastball for a strike to a left-handed batter. That was a strike, and Matt Carpenter showed how to handle that pitch.
This is a double play ball. 4-6-3 off the bat of Jason Hayward. Game changer, also Matt Carpenter. His streak is now 14. These are the last 5 Cardinals to reach base in their first 13 games of the season, whether it be hit by pitch, walk, or base hits. The T-Mobile game changer, Matt Carpenter. A guy named Albert Pujols, 28 straight.
Gosh,
in 2009.
That's just ridiculous.
Amazing.
It really is. Still plying his trade with the Angels.
Sure is. Here's Denard Span. Nationals excited to get him back in the lineup, rejoin the club after abdominal surgery. Played in his first game last Sunday. Denard, an interesting story. He was born in Washington but spent the majority of his childhood living in Tampa Bay. And now here he is playing for the Nationals. Good tailing action on that pitch. Started a foundation to help kids of single parents. He was raised by his mom Wanda. He and his brother, together with his mother, that worked 10-hour days as an insurance claims adjuster and also operated a daycare center. And that's back to Walker, and he makes the play.
And then tries to recover. I'll tell you, that's shocking. When the ball's hit that hard and you make a play like that, it passes through your mind, what if that were a foot and a half higher? I mentioned Brandon McCarthy earlier. Brandon McCarthy hit in the head as a pitcher. Doug Fister was hit in the head by Pablo Sandoval in the World Series a couple of years ago.
Speaking of Albert Pujols, I remember he hit a liner off of Chris Young. You know, remember the 6'10" pitcher?
I certainly do.
Straight off his forehead.
Oh, gosh,
I mean, it is scary.
Frightening.
Yeah. And you talk about earlier these guys being bigger and stronger, and you think about some of those situations.
Yes. And I think baseball still should consider and continue working on headgear for pitchers. I think it's vital. I really do. I know a lot of guys don't like to use it right now. It looks funny and all that sort of stuff. That's a small price to pay, particularly with what's going on about concussions in football, catchers in baseball.
Ian Desmond chops it to Colton Long. 2 down. There's been a task force signed by Major League Baseball to look at Tommy John and also looking at the concussion situation in the game.
Right.
Reminder, the Bud Bash is coming up on Tuesday, and Jack Clark will be there May 5th for a full schedule of players to visit with. Get a bobblehead or an autograph. The Budweiser Bash, the special theme ticket every Tuesday through the regular season. And this Tuesday will be Jack Clark. Good curveball. We know about the coaches now in the game after Mike Coolbaugh and the incident with him
in Tulsa.
Yep. Jack Clark deal wound up being a pretty darn good one for St. Louis. It was a 1-for-4 deal with the San Francisco Giants. And the big names going to San Francisco at that time: left-hander Dave LaPointe, David Green, an infielder. Jack wound up hitting 60-plus home runs in 3 years, then signed with the Yankees. And the memorable home run in Game 6 off of Tom Niedenfuhr in the National League Championship Series against the Dodgers. Tommy Lasorda debating whether or not he should pitch to Jack Clark. It's Scully. Should I pitch to the so-and-so? He did, and he got burned. And the rest, as they say, is history. 2-2, and here's Colt Wong again. Backs up just a bit. And an easy 1-2-3 inning for Michael Wacha. We're through 3 here in our nation's capital. Cardinals on top, 1-0 win last night for St. Louis. As Holiday chops it to short. 1 away. Even up the series 2-2. Missouri Lottery Fox Tracks. Holiday is 0 for 2.
And we have seen some very good shortstop play by Ian Desmond in this series. Having a psychological problem similar to what John Lester, we talked about it in Game 1. All his plays have been reaction plays in this series, and he's handled all of them very well. You know, I had a problem like that in 1969, and it affected my throwing guys out. I didn't have a strong arm anyway. And Lou Brock noticed that and gave me a book called Psycho-Cybernetics. Do you remember that? By Maxwell Maltz.
Remember
was
the book,
guy's
yes.
name. This book was the most confusing book I have ever read in my life.
So it didn't help.
Oh, help! It put me into a season-long slump. It tied my hands. Are you kidding? Need a straitjacket.
Adams with a fly ball into right. Harper over to make the catch.
I've kidded Lou about that. I said, and Lou was just the sweetest guy and a great guy and a caring teammate and the whole bit. He knew I was having some problems and all that, and it became a thing. And he went out. It was a paperback. It was a very popular book in the late 60s. But the name of it, Psycho-Cybernetics. Whew. Maxwell Maltz. Not one of my favorite books of all time.
Here's Johnny Peralta. You and I were talking about before the game. We're looking forward to reading Jim Cott's new book.
Yeah, absolutely. His second book. It's supposed to be a terrific read.
Here's an 0-1 pitch. Broken bat. Desmond with time and throws a strike to Ryan Zimmerman. So the throwing problems have not been an issue these 3 games for the shortstop of the Nationals, Ian Desmond. Getting that kid out to the ballpark.
Properly swaddled, though, that young baseball fan.
Apparently the kid born during BP and now taking in the Ryan Zimmerman at bat. Here's the 0-1. So you had issues throwing to second base. Was it they tailed on you a little bit?
Yes.
But you were able to get out of it?
Well, I was able to get out of it. I was traded. That's how I got out of it. After the '69 deal, that was the deal with Kurt Flood.
Sure. There's a base hit into right. And Zimmerman stopping at first base.
Well, that's a double for anybody in baseball, but Ryan Zimmerman limping down to first base. It's like he's playing on one leg. This ball is normally a double, not a single. Really protecting that knee. Even rounding the bag was painful.
It's Clint Robinson. Jim Hayes has joined us here in the booth as we play in the bottom of the 4th, and the Cardinals leading 1-0. Robinson lined out with 2 runners on in the first. The first pitch to him is a strike. You know who's public enemy, Jim, #1 in this particular ballpark is a guy that you wouldn't normally think would be, and that's Pete Cosmo.
Nats fans remember Pete from the 2012 playoffs. They boo him every chance. You guys talked about the fact that they booed Pete in a spring training game. So we went and we talked to some Nationals fans, and we found that most fans don't really know who Pete Kozma is. Some still hold a grudge against him. And we did a thing in the pregame show where we got some help from Pete, who found the whole thing very amusing. He told me he doesn't hear it when they boo him, and if he did hear it, he wouldn't really care. And Dan, he seems to get a kick out of it, and as you know, he's so relaxed. Nothing bothers Pete Kozma, but not the type you'd expect to be public enemy number one.
Here's a 2-1 pitch. I saw him in the clubhouse, and I walked by him and I went, boo, boo, like that. I just started booing him. He said, yep, sounds about right. We're in Washington. He feels it. He knows he's going to get booed.
But he says he's so locked in a game, he doesn't even hear it, but he's read some of the stuff. He's been told about it, and he's like, yeah, not a big deal.
Not a big deal. If anything, a compliment. Backhanded compliment, really.
Mike Matheny said,
no question.
Mike Matheny said if you're a player and you're being booed for something you did on the field for performance against another team, that's a badge of honor.
Sure.
Pete Rose used to say, I was never booed in a white uniform.
Always on the road.
Always on the road.
Here's a 2-2 pitch. By the way, Pete Rose made news last week, being added to Fox Sports as an analyst, and today Rob Manfred, the commissioner, said that Pete, some way, some form, will be involved in the All-Star festivities in Cincinnati this year. So he made that announcement earlier today, which is good news for those that want to see Pete in the Hall of Fame or back in baseball. I think what's interesting too, Tim, and you know Pete so well, but he could be allowed back in the game at some level and still not make it into the Hall of Fame because that's a separate entity.
That's true.
And to, you know,
I don't
the
think
writers
that's
that
going to happen, though. I think if he gets back into the game, the pressure is going to be on. Give the guy his due from a just strictly a playing standpoint. I think. But of course, the writers vote on that, and don't know.
3-2 on Clint Robinson.
Well, you know Zimmerman's not running at first base.
No, sir. I mentioned that Robinson signed a minor league deal. 300-plus hitter in the minor leagues, and now he draws a walk.
That was a good at bat by Clint Robinson.
So 2 on, nobody out. Opponents average by situation in his career with runners on, 210 this year, 0 for 20, and 0 for 12 with runners in scoring position. That's impressive.
It certainly is.
Janelle Escobar.
I don't think he'll be bunting, not the way he's swinging the bat. Game-winning home run in game 1 of this series.
Double play ball. Peralta steps on the bag. Double play. They are now 0 for 21. The opposition with runners in scoring position, or in this case, runners on.
Plus, you had the added fact that Zimmerman was on at second base. So the Cardinals knew that there was going to be no bunt on. And a routine double play, Peralta to Adams.
Jose Lobaton. That changeup has got great action against these lefties, doesn't it?
And he's so tall that I think that aids and abets that changeup too.
That was the cutter. 1 ball, 1 strike. First pitch strikes. 13 of 16 he's seen today. Here's a 1-1.
Oh, great changeup. That was the best change he's thrown today.
74 miles an hour. 1-2 pitch. Then he comes back with a 95-mile-an-hour fastball.
You can see the dilemma for the hitter, any hitter.
Outfield is shallow, and a 2-2 is swung on and missed. So the first two reached, and then 2 outs on a double play and a strikeout of Lobaton. He strikes out for the second time, and the third strikeout for Michael Wacha as we head to the 5th. The top of the 5th, Colton Wong will lead it off. It'll be Wong, Jay, and Cruz. 1-0. St. Louis. You know, you mentioned the bottom of the 4th. Well, that looks entertaining. Enjoying yourself? But you mentioned as Wong hits a fly ball out to left, and Robinson is there. One pitch by Wacha, and I think you and I both agree it was his best pitch of the afternoon.
I thought so.
And there are those when you're watching, you'd say, well, that looks like a curveball, but because of the great movement, he played this game a long time and caught great curveballs and caught great changeups. It had that appearance, but clearly outstanding changeup that time from Michael Wacha.
Because it went away from the left-handed hitting Lobaton.
You can see it at the very end, that little tail going the other way. What a pitch. As Jay flies to left. And Clint Robinson puts that in his back pocket for out number 2. And that's the thing about, you know, guys like yourself that have played this game and you watch it so intently, you pick up on the little things, and you will see that ball just tail away with the lefty, which gives you the indication then it's not the curveball.
Well, you tried to.
3 pitches and 2 outs, and here's Tony Cruz. He looks at a strike. He was called out on strikes his first time up. As Max Scherzer has struck out 3 and allowed 3 base hits. Boy, these two guys are fun to watch, aren't they?
Machines.
Good way to put it.
Out machines.
Very few mistakes along the way. Here's an 0-2 to Cruz. And that is a quick top of 5 for Max Scherzer.
5 pitches.
Woo. Espinosa, Scherzer, and Denard Span. Espinosa has abandoned switch hitting. Went into spring training. Struck out nearly a third of his major league at bats. They said, why don't you think about just going from one side of the plate? And he has said at times he may go back to switch hitting depending on the matchup. But right now he's caught in between.
Yeah, you don't want to be caught in between.
This side of the plate, a .213 hitter. Right side, career .271. They tried Espinosa at third base. He's played shortstop. He's played second. And with Yanel Escobar added to the Nationals, Espinosa would be the guy coming off the bench ideally, but because of injuries, he's in there every day.
One of the best throwing arms in the National League. Playing second base, he has the left side of the infield throwing arm. Obviously a longer throw from short and third. He's almost got to take a little off when he completes a double play.
Absolutely. There's the changeup tailing away from the left-hander. Two balls and 2 strikes. Shadows, without question, a little bit of a factor here. That's ripped down the right field line. It is hooking, and it is off the wall. How did that not get out of here? It'll be a double for Espinosa.
I think it hit right to the left of the yellow line, but above the fence.
Exactly. There's about 2 feet of padding next to the yellow line. The pitch was up in the Chevy Fox tracks, and that's right where he hit it.
That was a changeup, waiting very well, and I mean, he hammered it. Yeah, the ball hit about a foot from the foul line. Had it been 6 inches to the left, it's a home run. It looked like.
Hearing some of the fans chant M-I-Z and the other one Z-O-U, a common chant of Missouri Tiger fans that are cheering on Max Scherzer here at the ballpark. Max was actually originally drafted by the Cardinals, and he was telling me 2 days ago he didn't sign because he knew, and he's a bright guy, he knew he needed seasoning, according to him. Out at first, the throw by Adams, no throw.
Well, that's terrific base running. A great read by Espinosa. Johnny Peralta looked him back. He could have looked him back longer at second base. Watch. Peralta looks him back, but only a step. I mean, with the pitcher running, looking back, and then throw to first base. But by looking him back only once, I think Johnny's got to remember who's running, and I think he prevents Espinosa from going to third base.
I'm not sure what they're reviewing. The only thing I can think of is that Scherzer's still out on the field, and maybe they're questioning whether or not Matt Adams was off the bag.
Well, if he was off the bag, he didn't make a throw to third base. So if that pulled him off the bag to make the throw, you could understand it. But if he came off the bag, he did by a pretty good margin. I think that's a good appeal. So by Johnny Peralta not looking the runner back at second, and Matt Adams coming off the bag, I doubt that any error would be given. Perhaps on Adams. But the thinking was not right by Peralta or Adams on that play.
Just by looking at the one replay, looks like he's off the bag.
He is. He was never on the bag. It didn't look like. His right foot was next to the bag.
They just showed that on the video board here at the ballpark, and that's the reaction you hear in the crowd. They've just seen it, and they think he's safe, and so do we.
Yeah. I don't even think it's close.
No.
Now, the one thing about the Cardinals, the thing you rarely see them do is make mistakes on defense. They don't have the greatest range on the left side, but they catch the ball. Wong showed last night he's got tremendous range. Matt Adams is an improved first baseman defensively. They don't make mental mistakes. This could be a huge mental mistake, and that was an easy call.
So now runners at the corners, and Derek Lilliquist will visit with Michael Wacha, pitched out of trouble back in the fourth. Here it is again.
You know, see, when he makes the play, he's way off the bag. And with Scherzer running, he had a chance to get off the bag and then come back and touch the bag, because Scherzer was about halfway down there.
So the error is charged to Adams, his third this season, third in the series. Let's see how the Cardinals want to play this with runners at the corners.
You almost have to play double play depth. You know, Denard Span, you do have the option of coming home on a slowly hit ball, because Span is such a fast runner, you're not going to double him up for the most part.
He's coming off a Nationals record a season ago, 184 hits. And today, thus far, he has walked and hit back to Michael Wacha. Ground ball, base hit. This game is tied. Scherzer on his way to third. To throw by Hayward. Not in time. How about that? Your pitcher going first to third. On a base hit to right and testing Jason Hayward.
Not only that, Dan, but a pitcher that spent all his life in the American League, his first year in the National League, so he's not used to running the bases. But he does, realizing how important it is, go from first to third. That's the first time in a long time we've seen a pitcher go from first to third on a ground ball to the right side. Made it rather easily.
So nobody out. Ian Desmond, three-time Silver Slugger at shortstop, 3 consecutive Silver Sluggers for him.
It's funny how the game works. If Matt Adams is on the bag, they get the one out. Perhaps they play the infield. Mike Matheny plays the infield halfway. Adams is off the bag, and maybe that ground ball from Span goes to Adams, and they get Espinosa at home.
Good point. Here's a 1-0. Popped up. Could be a very big out here. Colton Wong makes the catch. The big first out. What's on tap? We will be in Milwaukee. See the struggling, and I mean struggling, Milwaukee Brewers tomorrow. Carlos Martinez, Matt Garza will come your way at 6:30. It's the Budweiser What's on Tap. Ownership of the Brewers has come out and said that the GM, Doug Melvin, Ron Renneke, the manager, they are safe at this point, and that it's up to the players to start playing better. That was this morning. And right now, Milwaukee, league worst, 2-13, and already 8 games back of St. Louis. Bryce Harper pops it foul. So much talk about Bryce Harper, rightfully so, the BJC Healthcare difference maker, but against St. Louis, the Cardinals have done an outstanding job keeping him in check. 171.
Lowest career average versus any NL opponent.
Nothing at 2. Such an odd journey for Harper to come to the big leagues. After his sophomore year in high school, he picked up his GED degree, and then that was in Las Vegas. He attended the College of Southern Utah at the age of 17 so he could enter Major League Baseball's draft early. He was the #1 pick back in 2010. Rookie of the Year in 2012, also was an All-Star, and in the history of the game, the youngest position player as far as All-Stars are concerned. Younger than Harper, selected to the All-Star game, Dwight Gooden and Bob Feller.
Yeah, Bryce's journey to the major leagues, almost baseball's version of Midnight Cowboy. And I say that with all the respect in the world for Bryce.
Here's a 1-2 pitch from Michael Wacha. A swing and a miss, and a big strikeout, number 4 today. Chevy Fox Tracks. Pitch may have been outside the zone.
Outside and high. Flat-footed swing. That tells you that Bryce Harper was looking for something else. He didn't get it and couldn't hold up.
So now it's Ryan Zimmerman, who is flying to right center, singled down the right field line. 2 outs, 2 on. First pitch taken inside. Michael Wacha gets out of this jam with 1 run allowed. Say job well done. The way that this inning started. That is a big out there. Brian Zimmerman still to go. Zimmerman, the man that broke up potential no-hitter. Michael Wacha in 2013 and just his 9th major league start.
Tony Cruz had to cross the plate, and when a catcher crosses the plate, you're not going to get that pitch for a strike. That last pitch was a strike, but Tony was setting up inside, and the pitch was outside, the outside part of the plate. Usually if you cross the plate, you don't get those strikes.
Don't see much emotion from Wacha, and even he showed displeasure in that call. Hit to short and a forced play at second. Espinosa scores the first run for the Nats, and we're tied up 1-1. Ken Holtzman, Rick Sutcliffe, who we saw last night working with ESPN. David Cohn did it a couple of times with Kansas City and was in Kansas City at Rockhurst High School. And Max Scherzer was recently in 2013. 21 wins and went 21-3 that year, on his way to the Cy Young Award.
I believe Kenny Holtzman was from or is from University City, right?
Correct.
Kenny, a fine pitcher for the Cubs for a lot of years. I think he ended his career in Oakland, right?
Correct. Wacha then the top of the lineup. And Scherzer grew up a Cardinals fan, going to games, telling us that he had a superstition as a fan. He said anytime mom and dad would take me to the ballpark, if I ate nachos, the Cardinals would hit a home run and they'd win. So he said he ate a lot of nachos. Harper coming on and makes another sliding catch. And the name that he mentioned all the time, Tim, of a player that hit home runs when he was at the ballpark, Fernando Tatis. And today is the anniversary, ironically enough, of Fernando Tatis and the 2 grand slams that he had against the Dodgers in Chan-Ho Park in 1 inning. AT&T phone charger presented by AT&T. 25,000 fans entering with a ticket, and that's Friday, May 1st. The portable phone charger. April 23rd, 1999.
In Los Angeles, right?
Dodger Stadium. 2 grand slams in 1 inning off the same pitcher, Chan-Ho Park. Only player to do that in the same inning. Matt Carpenter is 2 for 2. And a fly ball lifted to left field. And Billy Miller is the only player to hit 2 grand slams in a game from either side of the plate. Billy did that back in 2003 with the Boston Red Sox.
And he wasn't a home run hitter.
He was an 8th place hitter and won the batting title in 2003.
How about that?
So 2 outs, and here is Jason Hayward. I think it's safe to say Max Scherzer is settled in.
Talking about a guy who is zeroed in on the strike zone.
There's a base hit for Hayward. 2 for 3 today.
Jason having a tough time in a slump early, and one of the best ways to get out of it, hit the ball back through the box. You know your front shoulder's in, then take it right back through the originator, as the old line is.
2 outs, runner at first for Holiday.
Running situation here.
Watch out. You know, going back to Hayward, I think that's what we've seen a lot of times, Tim. Outside pitches, tries to yank him a little bit.
Pulling the ball at 4-3 syndrome. Boy, that's a bad habit to get in as a left-handed batter. 4-3 meaning second to first. Play Pepper with the second baseman. Not a good thing.
Hayward picks up the first base hit for the Cardinals since back in the third at Carpenter. He stands at first. 0-1 pitch. And Holiday is hit.
You know, Hayward had a fake break towards second base. I wonder if that confused Scherzer. That fastball uncharacteristically inside hits Holiday on the elbow. There was that little fake break by Hayward.
Maybe a rush to the plate and then
Maybe,
it sails.
yeah, maybe. Got under a fastball with the elbow leading. Ball tailing in and hitting Matt Holiday.
Adams 0 for 2. Fly to center, fly to right. The 0-1. Adams lines it out to left. That ball is down. Hayward will score. The Cardinals back on top 2-1. And this damage in the sixth done all with 2 outs.
I'll tell you, the guy who's the happiest about that is John Mabry. Not that they got the hits that they got, but how they got them. Hayward up the middle and Adams to left field. Matt's been pulling off the ball, and Hayward with the problem, that 4-3 syndrome, playing Pepper with the second baseman. So Hayward goes up the middle and Adams the other way, and the Cardinals retake the lead.
First and second for Johnny Peralta. He's 0 for 2. That's up the middle, and on a hop, a race to the bag. Espinosa is there. Jason Hayward is 2 for 3 in this ball game this afternoon off of Max Scherzer. And he scores on a base hit to left by Adams. It's now 2-1 midway through. Robinson leads things off. And a curveball drops in for a strike. He's lined out and walked. And a ground ball that is fair, taken there by Adams. 1 away. Pitching this series, Tim, and that's been the story of it.
Yeah, John Lackey actually would have had a better night last night. Tuesday, Wednesday, and this afternoon. John Lackey giving up 5 runs last night. All were earned, but had he covered first base in the 3rd inning, the Nationals probably score only 4 runs. But the starting pitching for the Cardinals has at least matched the Nationals thus far.
A good fastball to Escobar. Single to right. And bounced into a double play. Gets him to reach, and a ground ball to short. Peralta. 2 outs. Kia in the driver's seat to follow up what you're talking about, Tim. Cardinals as a whole, in terms of their pitching staff going into this game, 91 hits allowed. The fewest in the National League this year.
I'm not sure Derek Lilliquist gets the credit that he deserves, doing a job year in, year out with the Cardinals. He is terrific, and such big shoes to fill in the person of Dave Duncan, who was so long the pitching coach for Tony La Russa. Derek has just done a terrific job with these young pitchers. and older pitchers.
And I think when most people talk about filling shoes, it's Matheny with La Russa, not Lilliquist and Duncan.
Yeah, that very good point. Very well put.
Derek's been in this organization a long time. A lot of the pitchers that have come up through the system he's seen when they were in the minor leagues, some of them dealing with injuries. He had a lot of the responsibilities down in Florida on rehab assignments and such, and then was the bullpen coach for the Cardinals under Dave Duncan and Tony La Russa, and then moved to the pitching coach with Mike Matheny. Two balls, two strikes on Jose Lobaton. Swing and a miss and 5 strikeouts this afternoon from Michael Wacha, who's through 6, a 2-1 St. Louis lead. Gateway Honda dealers will donate $1,000 to the Make-A-Wish Foundation. Wong, Jay, and Tony Cruz due up for St. Louis. A lot of Cardinal fans here in our nation's capital. Heard that in late innings, that the crowd has come alive for St. Louis.
I don't know about the color scheme of those glasses, though. Orange glasses on a red cap.
Doesn't blend well.
No.
Wong pops it up and out of play. At St. Louis, I think we all enjoyed the home run race of 1998. And you were left to wonder what might have been for Matt Williams in 1994. A season that was cut short with labor strife. That's a foul ball.
And at that time, the Washington Nationals were not in baseball. It was the Montreal Expos, and they had the best record in baseball.
74-40.
I think it was August 14th that
August 11th.
Right? August 11th.
August 11th.
Okay, good going.
Some of the names that were on that team in Montreal, I mean, you think about, and these were guys in their prime. Larry Walker and Marquise Grissom, John Wetland, who was huge for the Yankees.
The Hawk.
The 1-2 pitch, tapped foul. Moises Alou, Cliff Floyd, Pedro Martinez. I mean,
yeah,
the team was stacked.
Had that season not been called off because of the strike, who knows? The Montreal Expos may have stayed around, won a World Series, built a new ballpark, and the Washington Nationals would never have been.
Exactly. It's odd how it all ties in, and now their manager is Matt Williams.
Yeah, right.
And he had 43 home runs.
August 11th.
On August 11th.
Yeah.
The way I figured it, he would have had roughly 190 to 200 at bats rest in the year, you know, to get 19 home runs. Chopped up the middle. Often overlooked too is Tony Gwynn. He was at 394 that year. Could he have gotten to 400? Ted Williams the last to do it, 1941, at 406.
Going what, 6 for 8 in the last 2 games of the season. They told him he could sit out in the second game. He said, nope, I'm not doing it. Went out and went 3 for 4.
You had some amazing conversations with him.
I did.
More about fishing or hitting?
Well, I interviewed him at Winter Haven, Florida in 1986. And I asked him, the most poignant question I asked was, if you had it to do over again, would you have been nicer to the media? And he got tears in his eyes. And he said yes.
Really?
Yes.
John Jay 0 for 3. Stay cool all summer and a performance t-shirt. Unique Cardinals logo. See it there with Jason Hayward. 25,000 fans, 16 and older, entering with a ticket. Sunday, May 3rd, take home the t-shirt.
Ted Williams was particularly venomous toward Sports Illustrated. He didn't like Sports Illustrated because he didn't like the writers for SI, and he didn't like what they wrote about him.
That's pretty simple. Yeah. You wrote this. I don't like you. I don't like
right.
the magazine you're with. Here's Tony Cruz. 0-1 pitch. Cruz rips it into left. That pitch was up. His first base hit this year, and he's 1 for 3 today. Plaza Tire Fox Tracks. Was it up? Was it over the middle? Definitely over the middle.
Talking about Ted Williams, his last home run, when in 1960, I believe, right? And when John Updike was writing the story about his last home run, and he said he circled the bases like a feather in a vortex. How can you be that good a writer?
Sums it up.
Like a feather in a vortex.
A 1 pitch to Michael Walkup. Think about, especially here in Washington, what he meant to our country, his service.
What he meant to the Senators.
Right.
As their manager. Yeah.
Oh, 2 pitch to Michael Walkup. This is low and away. Scherzer only at 81 pitches. He is due up second in the lineup for the Nationals. Runner goes, adds Cruz, and Zimmerman, a fine play on the back end.
How about that play? If Tony Cruz is thrown out, then the pitcher leads off the next inning. But you know what? It's not a bad play because Mike Matheny is probably going to pinch hit for Michael Wacha had Cruz stolen the base. So it does make sense. And a great play by Zimmerman. It's all moot.
Bottom of the 7th. A 2-1 St. Louis lead, and there's a high strike to Espinosa. Doubled down the right field line. Also flied out to left. Max Scherzer on deck, and then we'll see Denard Span. Now Tyler Moore has moved to the on-deck circle. A strikeout for Michael Wacha, and that's number 6 today.
When you're consistently this close to the outside corner, it's going to be a strike. I think that pitch caught the first part of the plate. A lot of times it'll catch the front corner. The catcher catches it, it's outside. And the hitter has virtually no chance.
Matt Thornton, a lefty, getting loose in the pen for Washington. Look at the Mazda game summary. Walker 6 1/3. Adams the go-ahead RBI. Scherzer done. 7 innings, and Denard Span 1 for 2 with an RBI. Back in 2012, Tyler Moore was the top pinch hitter for the Nats off their bench. Struggled a bit last year, and he grounds out to third. So quickly, 2 outs. Walker had 94 pitches.
I would think this will be the last inning for Michael.
Yeah, the Cardinals too, Tim, were they were telling us in spring training, and we had a conversation with Derek Lilliquist and some of the others in the front office about how careful early in the season, especially with Michael Walker, they want to be with pitches in games, the pitch counts.
Yeah.
Some people, they don't like to look at that, but with him, a concerted effort to look at it because of the shoulder injury. Nice play by Adams, a flip to Walker, and he is through 7. Sends us to the 8th. Nicely done, Matt. Bartolo Colon.
Picking off A.J. Przinsky. Where's A.J. going?
Jordan Walden starting to loosen now in the Cardinals pen.
I'm saying that because A.J.'s our buddy. Worked on him in postseason. He is a character, I'll tell you.
As we found out in St. Louis, he is one of the great characters.
He really is. He is a genuinely funny guy and a good guy.
Not much of a filter either, as we found out. Fun to be around.
He really is.
Here's Matt Carpenter, who is 2 for 3 against Max Scherzer today. Scherzer done. The lefty Matt Thornton in, and our Chevy Cole to the pen. Scherzer 7 innings, 2 runs, 6 hits, 4 strikeouts. Exits trailing 2-1.
Last year, A.J. Przinsky was kicked out of a game for telling the umpire, who after a foul ball was going to give him a new ball, of course, because the ball's out of play. And A.J. said, "Give me one you can see." He was run for that. And Joe Garagiola Jr. didn't want to fine him because he said the line was too good.
Did you see that he got ejected in a spring training game this year?
I did, yes.
It was Joe West behind the plate. There was no confrontation, none whatsoever. Joe West just walked over to Freddie Gonzalez and said, "You need a new catcher." And A.J. just walked off. And they didn't even talk about it. That was it. Typical A.J. Przinsky.
Oh, man.
Freddie, you need a new catcher. That was it. That's how he was ejected. The 2-2 to Carpenter. Cardinals still have to go through that heart of the lineup of Washington. 2, 3, and 4 due up in the bottom of the 8th inning. Reaching for it into center, and the catch is made by Denard Span.
Matt Carpenter never seems to be an easy out, does he?
Ever.
No. Guy gets his money's worth with every at bat.
Great with 2 strikes and does not give away at bats.
No.
There's Jason Hayward, and he started the rally back in the 6th for the Cardinals. Looked to be an uneventful inning at that time for Max Scherzer. It was a base hit to center by Hayward. Holiday hit by a pitch, and Adams a base hit into left. And right now, that's the difference in this game. 2-1 St. Louis.
Another 2-out RBI for the Cardinals. All 3 home runs hit last night were with 2 outs. Or I beg your pardon, with 2 strikes on the hitters. Wong, Carpenter, and Adams.
Let's go back to what you were talking about earlier, Tim, with the front shoulder. This is a good example of it here with the lefty-lefty matchup.
Well, which you have to do against a left-hander. That front shoulder is vital. If it gives, you're finished.
And a ground ball that's hit to second. Hayward 2 for 4.
You might say if the front shoulder is so important with a left-handed batter hitting against a left-handed pitcher, then why don't more left-handed pitchers pitch left-handed hitters inside? They try to. That neutralizes the guy who keeps the shoulder in. Rusty Staub and I used to talk about that at length, that a left-handed pitcher who pitches a guy up and in, you end up jamming yourself. You get that same pitch from a right-handed pitcher and he pops it out of the ballpark. It's a totally different animal. We talked about John Mabry, and the reason we continue to talk about this, the Cardinals are loaded with left-handed hitters. And if you're a manager, you're going to throw a left-hander at them, all things considered equal.
You think about being a lefty reliever and seeing the Cardinals come to town. I mean, this is right up Matt Thornton's alley right here.
Sure. That's why he was hired.
1-1 pitch to Holiday. Usually you see the other pitchers go over to the starter if they're out and give the handshakes, the pats on the back, the starter smiling if it's been a good day. And we haven't seen that yet with Michael Walker, which just makes me wonder, is he going to start the inning?
Yeah.
Walden is ready and available and warmed up, standing out on the mound of the bullpen. There's Jordan Walden. He's off to a very good start. Up the middle and a base hit with 2 outs for Holiday. So that's now 14 straight games to begin the year that he's reached base. It's St. Louis's 2 favorite destinations for one great price. The Cardinals and Six Flags double play combo. That includes a ticket to a Cardinals game and a 1-day pass to Six Flags St. Louis. Get yours now at cardinals.com/Six Flags. Mark Reynolds will pinch hit. And it looks like Matt Williams will go to his pen. Aaron Barrett has been throwing. Hard throwing right-hander.
So Aaron Barrett is in here. And this called the bullpen. Brought to you by Chevy.
Cardinals will try to add to their lead with Mark Reynolds against Aaron Barrett. Hard throwing right-hander, and the first pitch is driven out to deep right field. Harper is on the move, and this ball is off the wall. Holiday to third. Holiday to the plate. Relay on its way. Throw is high, and a big insurance run thanks to Mark Reynolds, and that's in center field. Reynolds being waved in. He will score. Cardinals add 2 more.
Two more 2-out runs. You talk about a guy like Mark Reynolds going up and looking in one area, a fastball away, and he got it, and man, did he ever drill it. That ball had a ton of carry into right center field. Matt Holiday chugging around third, realizing how important the run is, slaps home with his hand. And then the overthrow of second base. So an error on the play, and Mark Reynolds scores 2.
So a double, RBI, and an error on the pitcher. The throw to second. There's a breaking ball taken high. So here comes Reynolds. You described it properly with Matt Holliday. The same for Mark Reynolds, chugging. Some big dudes rolling out there.
I'm telling you.
Four to 1 Cardinals here in the top of the 8th. And Peralta hits it down the left field line, and that's fair. Ground rule double for Johnny Peralta. So back-to-back doubles for the Cardinals. And the first base hit for Peralta.
You know, that ball is about as fair as the ball hit by Colton Wong last night. About a foot. Watch. Wong's was not a ground rule double, but it was a big double in the game that gave the Cardinals the lead. And then the home run by Matt Adams against the right-hander cushions it a bit. And Matt Adams' replacement, Mark Reynolds, today cushions it a bit.
So Mike Matheny pushing the right buttons.
Yes, sir.
Strike 2, Colton Wong. Cardinals about hit the Nationals 9-5, and they lead it 4-1. Oh, 2 pitch. Taken up and away by Wong. Colton today is lined out, flied out, grounded out. 0 for 3. Swing and a miss and a strikeout of Colton Wong. The inning is through, but the Cardinals pick up 2 more. They lead it 4-1 in the rubber game of this 3-game set. Michael Wacha is through. He has a chance to be the winner today against Max Scherzer, who's on the hook right now. The Hyundai pitch arsenal for Jordan Walden. This is last year. Fastball, slider, changeup. By the way, his fastball last year averaged 94.9 miles per hour, which ranked in the top 4 of pitchers throwing at least 40 innings last year. Just to give you a little idea how hard he throws.
Yeah.
Michael Wacha, 7 innings, 5 hits, 1 run. It was earned. Struck out 6 on 95 pitches. Ian Desmond at the plate.
If Michael Wacha goes on to win this game, it's what he did after the only run of the game scored by the Nationals. Runners on at first and third. Scherzer made that good base running play going to third, and he was stranded there. And if Wacha wins, that'll be the reason.
And it was Desmond at the plate after that key base hit.
Right.
You know, you had 2, 3, and 4 coming up.
Sure.
Jordan Walden and Peter Borges, both with the Angels at one point, both made their debuts with the Angels in August of 2010. Walden was the closer by 2011 and was an all-star. All-star season. 32 saves, which is an Angels rookie record for saves, formerly held by Ken Tatum, 1969. He had 22.
Ken Tatum, unfortunately, hit Paul Blair in the head in the minor leagues and was never the same pitcher after that. Ken was at the Cardinal spring training in 1973. Jordan, is so difficult for right-handers to pick up. We used to talk about it as players, saying his foot hits the ground before his arm comes around, and it causes you to commit too early. If you're a right-hander in particular, that slider, particularly devastating.
There's the fastball and a base hit down in the corner and right. Leadoff double for Ian Desmond. Now the Reynolds double looms large. This delivery, have you ever seen anything like it?
No, I haven't. And usually you wouldn't think a guy would throw this hard with that delivery. He gets this fastball up to Desmond, and Ian doubles it down the right field line.
Now Bryce Harper. Two former All-Stars squaring off here. When Walden was named, he was a replacement for Mariano Rivera. Rivera missed the All-Star game in 11. A triceps injury at that time. Coming into the season, what's interesting too is that lefties only hit 199 against him. The righties 232. You hear all the good things about Jordan Walden. You wonder why the Angels give up on him. Mike Scioscia said he was the pitcher at one point of their young prospects that had the biggest upside. Well, he's put in that closer's role and then struggled. And there's that pitch. At one point, the Angels went with Ernesto Frieri. You may remember that name.
Sure.
He struggled. And then they reached out to Jason Isringhausen. And that's how desperate at one point they got.
Dangerous situation right here with Bryce Harper ahead in the count, and Walden having to throw a fastball strike.
I say desperate because Izzy was 40 at that time. Boy, was he good at one point. Just swing and a miss.
That's the second awkward swing of this game that Harper's taken.
Is he looking for something else?
It appears to me that he is. I mean, the first one was a strikeout on Michael Wacha. It's almost like his hips are locking. He doesn't open that front side to swing. I'd be surprised to see the Cardinals come inside to him.
And a walk. All of a sudden you look up and the tying run comes to the plate. And Tim, when you look at the career of Jordan Walden, when he is inside the strike zone, you know, it's not that hard to figure out. He's got overpowering stuff. At times, though, it's control issues that have cost him. Not all the time, but there are certain times where you just watch him. And one night, he's struggling to find the strike zone, and the next night, it's 9 pitches, and he's done.
Well, there are good walks and bad walks. The walk to Bryce Harper was a bad walk, because that brought the tying run up to the plate. Got a 3-run lead. Walks are devastating when you have big leads.
4 for 4, 2 home runs against Walden. You would think Zimmerman knows that. You would think Walden knows that.
No. If they don't know it exactly, they know it enough.
Who's had the success?
Yes.
Seth Maness now up and throwing in the pen. Ground ball, this could be 2. Out at second, the turn by Wong quickly to Reynolds. 6-4-3 on the double play. Second double play turned by the Cardinals today.
And Wong very quick at second base on the pivot. Good throw by Peralta. Much needed double play there.
There's Clint Robinson and a pitch upstairs at 97. Center field, Jay coming on. He's got it. And Walden, a scoreless 8th inning. 4-1 St. Louis. A little eventful there with the tying run coming to the plate. Nobody out, but pitches out of the jam.
That big double play ball on the first pitch. Ryan Zimmerman. And Jordan got what he wanted. A little tougher than he wanted it, but he got what he wanted.
Chevy Cole to the pen. Takes his 2. Tanner Roark was in the rotation last year. He was good.
Talked about it the other night. He's kind of the 6th starter for the Nationals. 15 and 10 and 2.85 earned run average last year.
You just wonder if Matt Williams is kind of feeling his way with Roark through the first month or two, trying to figure out how is he best used. 3-0.
Or a very, very valuable piece to trade. If that is Mike Rizzo, the general manager of the Nationals, desire.
Max Scherzer, 7-year, $200 million deal. So Roark pushed out of the rotation.
You could see, Dan, that this team has a problem in the bullpen. They really do. They have a, you know, for a team that was touted to have the best after the Scherzer signing in particular, to have the best personnel in baseball. They've got major bullpen problems, and teams with major bullpen problems don't do well in the postseason.
Tony Cruz with a base hit to left. Kansas City Royals in that model of winning last year proved to be
right, exactly.
Perfect example of having a good bullpen. Lights out. Trevor Rosenthal getting loose in the pen. Dean Anna is moved to the on deck circle. Mention how the Nationals may use him in spring training. When we saw him, Roark was being used as the long reliever. You'd see him come in with multiple innings and not come in the middle of an inning, only start an inning.
Which is understandable because he was such a successful starter last year.
But now you don't want to waste a guy that is so good. You know, as a long man, you're talking about a guy usually that, if he's a typical long man being used in blowouts one way or another, that's kind of a waste, isn't it? Of Tanner Roark?
I mean, the more you talk, the more I think if you're Tanner, you've got to think, I'd like to be traded. He may have already asked Mike Rizzo. Who knows? There's Mike.
One pitch to Tony Cruz. Roark has worked out of the bullpen before. He did that in 2013. But only 22 2/3 innings. Time called and granted for Cruz. No balls, 2 strikes. Jay, the runner at first. Tanner Roark pitched at the University of Illinois. Champaign-Urbana. Mitch Harris, the story that would be to get him into the game. The Naval Academy. One-two is hit to third. Wide throw at second, and Jay took out the man at second. Clean baseball.
Absolutely. What a turn by Espinosa.
Escobar really hung him out to dry.
Really did. That throw inside toward first base. Bad throw. And that gave Jay more time. And Espinosa completes it. Anyway, we talked about his throwing arm. He actually has a shortstop or third baseman's throwing arm. That's why they completed the double play.
And throws, you know, you think about Escobar, who's been more times than not a shortstop or second baseman. Third is kind of foreign to him, too.
True.
There's Dean Anna in his first plate appearance as a Cardinal. He does have major league experience with the Yankees a year ago. Randall Grichuk on the DL. A weightlifting injury to his back. So the Cardinals went with the hot hand, and that's Dean Anna. He was hitting above 400 down at AAA, and they wanted to have a left-handed bat coming off the bench. And a ground ball that's hit to second. Sends us to the bottom of the ninth. Trevor Rosenthal coming on when we come back. Played at Griffith Stadium. The Senators then moved to Minnesota after the 1960 season. There are the numbers in our Chevy call to the pen for Trevor Rosenthal. Then you had the expansion Senators. Eventually they wind up as the Texas Rangers. Now baseball back in Washington, D.C.
And it will be a while for the Cardinals to face the Nationals again. The last day of August and the first 2 days in September.
Where will these two teams be?
Yeah. I was thinking the same thing coming out here today.
The Cardinals, if they stay healthy, which every team says, and we've talked about it, but the way that they have pitched, my goodness. Incredible start in that regard. Strike one to Yanel Escobar. Lobaton and Espinosa on deck. Quickly 0-2.
Relentless starting pitching for the Cardinals. Time after time after time. Michael Wacha terrific this afternoon.
Lynn on the left. John Lackey blocked there, but he's on the right. Just think about what Michael Wacha has done so far. There's a ground ball hit to short, but twice gone up against Johnny Cueto in one. And today Max Scherzer, and 2 outs away from winning. This copyrighted telecast is presented by the authority of the Cardinals and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the St. Louis Cardinals. And partner, we started the telecast in the open, and you said, well, you know, league-wide, you look at this matchup, everybody talks about Max Scherzer, and Oh, the other guy.
Right, right.
Well, the other guy pitched awesome today.
The other guy stands to win this game if Rosenthal can get 2 more outs. The other guy was pretty good today.
He sure was.
That hit by Denard Span off Waka, the first hit this year with runners on base that he's given up. That's unbelievable in the 3rd start.
Just going back to it to kind of further the point what you're talking about, how the numbers showed in terms of what he's done with runners on. But you know, he had 2, 3, and 4 coming up with runners at 1st and 3rd, nobody out. And,
tie ball game.
Right. And an error behind him, real careless error.
Right.
You know, with the Adams play at 1st.
Right.
Kept his composure. Pretty special.
He really is.
2-2 the count on Jose Lobaton. Struck out 3 times. I'll make it 4. That's a tough day at the park. Budweiser player of the game, the other guy. The other guy, other being the middle name. Michael Waka, the player of the game, presented by Budweiser. Good outing. Jordan Walton is scoreless 8th, and now Rosenthal the first 2 here in the 9th. And it's Danny Espinosa for Washington.
Talked about Waka's opponents this year. What about his opponent that made him the MVP of the National League Championship Series? Clayton Kershaw, twice.
Sure. There's a ground ball hit to short. This should do it. Peralta. The Cardinals take 2 of 3 here in Washington. Waka picks up the win. Scherzer the loss in the final 4-1. As St. Louis takes game 3. So the Cardinals pick up the victory. They take 2 of 3. And Michael Waka, a big afternoon for St. Louis. Cardinals are now 10-4. Waka 3-0. Post-game show comes your way next.